now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
What is going on, RBLR Nation? You are tuning into the Rays portion of RBLR Sports. I am your host, Zach Blaine, and here with me is the one and only Mr. Ben Whitelaw. How are you doing today, brother?
Hey, Zach. Welcome back. Good to have you back on.
I know I missed it last week. Had to go out to Georgia, but I'm back. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, a lot of things happened this week with the trade deadline, a couple interesting series, and just a lot going on right now.
Yeah, I think you kind of covered what we're going to go over in the show as far as the trade deadline and the series this week. What do you think we should start off with, man?
Do you want to rate the or talk about each team's deadline moves in the AL East first, and then we'll do our series, or we could do our players of the week and then the series recap stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. That sounds exciting.
Okay, cool. I'm realizing we should have worked that out before we started recording, but it's fine. It's always nice to pull back the curtain, you know.
That's why they love us. We do this, guy. We just do it on the spot.
Yep, one take. That's it.
So which one do you want to run with first? What team you want to go? We'll just start off with the probably most uneventful in the Orioles or the Blue Jays. One of those two.
I mean, yeah. We can do Blue Jays first.
Perfect.
Just alphabetically, you know.
There we go. That's kind of how I had them lined up in my notes. So.
Yeah. So they really just they needed more pitching because their pitching hasn't been very good, but they didn't really do that. They just kind of swapped some prospects and fringe major league guys. They got a little bit of bullpen depth, but nothing, no high end bullpen depth. It's just kind of we'll see what this guy can do. They got Whit Merrifield, who as of now can't even play in Toronto.
Exactly.
So I'm sure he might do something about that, but it's interesting that they just kind of sat on their hands.
Yeah, I mean, they got Anthony Bass and Zach Pop, and Anthony Bass is 34 years old or something along those lines. They got guys to it almost felt like they're trying to compete now, but couldn't afford to get people that are going to help them compete right now.
Yeah, they almost got caught in between. They wanted to go out and get someone, but then they didn't, and now they're just going to have to hope that Kikuchi, Barrios, literally all of their starters who are having terrible years, they're going to have to hope that they get better. And it's one thing to hope that a player gets better, and it's another to hope that they come back from injury because when they're injured, they're not playing, but their pitchers are playing and they're playing really poorly. So I'm shocked that they didn't try to at least get one, mid to high end starter, and they just didn't do anything. So I'm happy about it though. I mean, that's fine with me.
So if you had to give them a grade on their whole trade deadline, what would you give them?
Are we doing letter grades here or a rating out of 5, 10? How do you want to grade it?
Let's do letter grades because I think that's kind of universal.
Okay,
cool. Or
cool.
numbers, but still.
I'd say a C. I mean, adding Merrifield is a good infield depth addition. He's a great pinch runner. So they did improve a little bit, but they didn't really do what they had to do. Yeah, actually, I'd probably go with a D now that I think of it a little bit more. I'd say a D. What about you?
I was right there at C, just because they did get some relief pitchers who I think are relief pitchers. I guess some of them could be starters, but mostly relief pitchers. And the Whit Merrifield trade, I mean, that's a big name to people who watch baseball on the regular. But he's someone, like you said, he can't play for him yet. So as long as he goes and gets taken care of what he has to take care of, then I think that he could be a helpful piece to them. So I gave them a C. I'm not as low on them, but not high on them at all.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think if he gets vaccinated, I'd bump my grade up to a C, but right now, just assuming he doesn't because he hasn't for 2 years, I'm gonna stick at a D. So yeah, I'm really not moved by their acquisitions though. They didn't really do anything to get that much better, but they also didn't throw pieces away so they didn't get worse either, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think they got any worse. And if they got better, it was marginally better. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay. No, that's fair. All right, so the Orioles then, if we're ready to move on.
Yeah. They, yeah. One of the weirdest in the division, one of the weirdest teams.
Yeah, I think their GM just kind of saw like, yeah, we're on a nice little run here, but realistically, like a third wild card spot with, a roster that isn't like, what they want at the moment. Like they still have room to grow, so he just decided to sell a little bit. They did some buying, but it's really mostly selling. Like they got prospects for major leaguers. They traded away Lopez and Mancini, which are obviously two huge pieces. Like they lost their all-star closer, and then
Yeah.
one of the better, right-handed bats on the market is now gone. So they definitely got a little bit worse immediately, but they got some nice prospects, including a couple of Rays players. Or I think just one.
Yeah, just one. They got Phillips, which hurts. And the
Yeah.
fact that we didn't get anything for him aside from cash consideration. I mean, he's having a down year, but everyone on this show knows how big of a fan I am of Brett Phillips. So that one hurt the most. And I want him to succeed there, but I also don't want the Orioles to succeed. So I'm in like a catch-22 now.
Right. I mean, they maybe got like $100 for him. I don't know. I feel like cash considerations could be like anything from like $1 to like $100,000. So I'd like to think it's closer to, $100,000 than $1 just because he is one of the best defensive, center fielders out there. But yeah, it does suck to lose him a little bit, especially as a clubhouse guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then like obviously we'll talk about us later, but I feel like there was different moves that could have been made to keep Phillips around, maybe just as a clubhouse guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could like create a cheerleader position on the team and just, employ him there. He doesn't have to hit. Maybe he's allowed to field by some special rule. I don't know. It's a
I
lot of
like it. I
got to
like
get
it.
creative. The Orioles also got Seth Johnson from the Rays, which is
Oh yeah.
interesting. I know his UCL is just a spaghetti noodle at this point, but he seems like if he can ever stop getting hurt, he might be a good player. But the Rays were able to part with him and kind of make that Rule 5 roster crunch this winter a little bit easier. So I hope he does well with Baltimore, but he just can't stay on the field, unfortunately.
Now, has he had Tommy John surgery already, or is he going to get Tommy John surgery? I know there was some stuff about it. I just couldn't remember if he'd already had it or if he's going to get it.
I didn't look into it that much. I know he's relatively new at pitching, so it wouldn't surprise me if he hasn't had it yet because he was a converted shortstop in
Yeah.
college. Um, but yeah, I think he's just a wild card. Like you really don't know what you're going to get from an unproven guy when he comes back from Tommy John surgery. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not too upset about him leaving.
No, I'm not either. He was one of the guys that we traded that I was like, realistically, I know who he is, but I don't know much about him. So it didn't hurt me too much.
Yeah, nothing too exciting there. All right, anything else on the Orioles?
No, that's why I was saying the Orioles had a kind of, aside from losing Mancini and Lopez, they didn't do much.
Yeah, I mean, well, what grade would you give them for their deadline
Uh,
moves?
oh man, I don't even know. Let's go with a D.
Okay, just because
But
of
yeah,
what?
inactivity. I would almost do like, what's the grade? I mean, you're a teacher. What's the grade that they give like uh where you don't do enough in the class, but you don't actually get letter grades?
Just incomplete, maybe. I don't
Incomplete,
know. Yeah,
unsatisfactory, whatever it
yeah,
is. Like they lost Mancini, who is kind of the heart of that team. He's been an Oriole his whole career, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so someone that is like a fan favorite, kind of like us losing Phillips. Like he's a fan favorite. Mancini's not having the greatest year, but he's got a good story and he's a beast. In the past, he is anyway. And then for them to lose their best closer, I feel like they didn't do enough to replace them.
Well, I mean, they're not trying to win this year, so I
Yeah,
understand like getting rid of those pieces and getting something for them while they still can. I just feel like they could have done that a little bit more. So I'm kind of in the C, maybe a B range,
Okay.
depending on how Phillips plays for them. Because the Orioles are a little bit more analytical now than they've been in the past under their new, regime. So I think I'm in like maybe a C plus to a B minus kind of range. Like they wasn't terrible. I feel like they definitely could have just sold more and got more prospects, but they already do have a pretty stacked minor league system. So I guess they didn't want to make the decisions too hard for the Rule 5 draft coming up. Yeah, I don't know. It's I just feel like they could have done a little bit more to really solidify that they are not going for it this year, because they're not, but they just yeah, I don't know. They
And
did all right though.
I could see where you're coming from with that, because they did make the Rule 5 crunch easier without getting a whole haul of prospects for all their guys. So I guess looking at it long term, I see kind of where you're at with that grade.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because like they're not trying to get better right now, which is great because they were, a little annoying recently with their good play. I don't want other teams in division to be playing good against the Rays. So
Yeah, I mean, they were only a game and a half out of the wild card race.
yeah, I mean that's pretty much done. I think Seattle would have eventually beat them out anyways, but
Yeah.
yeah, they had a pretty good deadline too. But that's a different division.
So now we get to the two teams that I think are the most drastically different. Not necessarily Boston, but New York is a lot different.
Yeah.
You want to go with Boston first?
Yeah, definitely. So they definitely saved some money by getting rid of Christian Vasquez. They got a nice prospect for him. I forgot his name. I think it's like something Abreu. Pretty good player.
Emmanuel Valdez and Willier Abreu.
Okay, yeah, they're both pretty decent. They DFA'd Jackie Bradley Jr. to save a couple million this year, and they're saving 12 million next year by getting rid of him now. They downgraded at catcher though with Reese McGuire. Like he's really not. He's about the same offensively as Vasquez, but just not even close to him defensively. They take on Eric Hosmer's contract for some reason, which is weird. They got Pham, I guess, maybe to keep the clubhouse in line, but this feels like they were sellers almost, but they just, again, they could have done more too to be sellers because this really is not their season.
No, they're, if I'm not mistaken, they're last in the division right now. So for them, like, it's almost like they couldn't decide if they wanted to be sellers or buyers. When you get a guy like Tommy Pham, you obviously expect him to come in and produce. Even though they got him for, I believe was it cash considerations for him as well, or was it a player to be named later?
It's one of those. I just know that like he was super cheap and like he's just. I don't think he's gonna. I mean, Fenway is a bit of a hitter's park for righties because of the monster, but like coming from the most hitter friendly park in the league, like he's really not, and he's older. It's the second half of the season. I don't expect him to be much better than league average the rest of the way.
And then with Eric Hosmer, obviously the contract is ridiculous, but then that kind of leads me to question why get rid of Jackie Bradley if you're bringing in a guy like Eric Hosmer whose contract is ridiculous. But
yeah,
Hosmer is a very good fielding first baseman, so he's someone that I think has kind of slipped since playing with the Padres, but I think that he's still a good player.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely like he's not terrible, but he's definitely overpaid for what he's actually producing at this point in his career.
100%.
I'm trying to see how much longer is he under contract, because I know they got rid of Bradley to save money this year and next year because next year he was due $12 million. Okay, Hosmer is he's under contract till 2026, but he can opt out after this year. Okay. So that, yeah, I don't really understand that move. That doesn't make much sense. They did get two pretty good prospects though in the whole like flurry of moves, but the Red Sox deadline kind of feels like at Thanksgiving when you're like walking around, like it's after Thanksgiving, everybody's done eating and you're like 12 years old and you walk around and you like pick up a plate and then set it back down and then you go pick up another plate. So you're trying to look busy so you don't have to actually do anything.
Exactly.
That's kind of, they just made a bunch of moves, but essentially did nothing. So, but they did get some good prospects. I don't know. I'm not impressed or scared of the Red Sox after this deadline.
Yeah, no, it feels like all these years of being like, oh, the Red Sox are the top of our division. We're battling with the Red Sox, and then they come out and do this, and it's like, okay, they're done for a little while.
I mean, they're still going to be a decent team, but they just have no pitching. Like all of their pitchers are hurt or bad at their jobs, and they didn't do anything to help that. So I don't know. What grade would you give them?
I'm going another D here.
Yeah, that's fair. I was torn between a D or a C, just because, like we said, they really didn't do that much, but they still got some pieces. So I'm like a C minus. They're barely scraping by here.
Yeah, it just felt like it was another one of those situations where I couldn't tell if they were sellers or buyers, and then when they get rid of people to bring in other people whose contracts are worse than the people they got rid of, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I think a lot of teams kind of buy and sell at the same time, but they should still have like a clear objective on where they're going. And the
Yeah.
Red Sox don't really have that clarity. So like the Orioles, like they could have sold more, but they still knew what they were doing. The Blue Jays kind of the same thing as the Red Sox, where they just don't really have like a clear direction on where they're headed in the short term and long term. Obviously, everybody wants to make the playoffs short term, but they didn't really do anything to help that. So it kind of makes you think, okay, maybe they're looking long term, but then they didn't really do anything long term either
Yeah,
to help.
exactly.
So like, what is the goal here? But yeah, that's about it for me for the Red Sox.
Oh, that's all I've got for the Red Sox. Then we get into the Yankees, and it's just, I hate the Yankees, man.
Yeah, they had such an eventful deadline.
And it was such a good deadline too. Like, I'm not. You got to be unbiased for a second, and just they had such a good deadline.
Yeah, they definitely they made some good moves. They gave up a lot of prospects. Like their farm is just, but I mean they're going for it this year, I guess, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
When you're on pace for like 120 wins or something, I guess you kind of have to go for it. Um, yeah, the Benintendi move is all right. They got some depth there, even though he's been really bad since his acquisition. But he'll turn it around. He's not that bad of a player. I like Scott Efros a lot. I've wanted him,
yeah,
but they overpaid for him. Like they gave up
agreed.
a pretty great pitcher. So for a bullpen guy, I know he has years of control, but like I don't think that's worth it very much. They did get a bit of a question mark in Frankie Montas because of the injury stuff. They got a nice bullpen guy with Trevino. Got rid of Gallo, which is nice. He needs to get out of there. That fan base is terrible. They lost some pitching depth. Like, why did they trade Jordan Montgomery? I don't really get that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Harrison Bader is a badass. Like, I like Harrison Bader, but you're getting rid of one of your better pitchers.
And yeah, especially when they've been running their pitchers into the ground, like he was going to have
Exactly.
to take on a larger role, as the season goes on. So yeah, it was really cool to see Garrett Cole get lit up by the Mariners like right after the deadline, but they still had some pretty good moves. I like Harrison Bader; he's a good defender. Um, yeah, I'd give him a B here. I wasn't like a perfect deadline because I feel like with how cheap Juan Soto was for the Padres, like the
Oh
Yankees
my
probably could have got
God.
him. Like they could have got him and like not went after Bader or Benintendi, and then that would have been like a really good deadline. I'm glad they didn't, but I'll still give him a B. It was decent.
Yeah, I give him an A minus, right there at the border of a B plus, A minus. I think that they corrected some of the stuff they needed to correct as far as they got rid of Gallo, who like you said, that fan base is trash. They're so bad. Uh, and then I don't know if you saw the clip of one of their announcers just ripping into Joey Gallo, talking about how, well, if you weren't batting 087 for the last 29 appearances and you deserve this, stop crying, woe is me. I was like, wow, good Lord.
Yeah, could you imagine like Dwayne or BA doing that? Like it's just so
It's
unprofessional and like
the
yeah.
the whole fan base and the whole organization. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about like the coaches and the players, but to see that organization have people in there that are just unprofessional like that, it blows my mind.
And for a player to like not want to like leave his house or his apartment because of the fans' reaction to him, like what are you doing with your lives if you're just treating like they're human beings? Like yeah, they're professional
Exactly.
athletes, but like I don't know, they just I guess when you have a fan base that's like pretty large. Like they're a really popular team. Like I get you're going to have like some bad eggs, but it just feels like there are quite a few of those, kind of like the Red Sox too, honestly. And it
Yeah,
feels good to say that, but it's also like why there's just no accountability, I guess.
yeah, it's upsetting for the game. Like as fans of Tampa, it makes us feel good to be like, oh yeah, Red Sox fans suck, Yankees fans suck. But for the game as a whole, you know, you kind of have to look at it like there's little kids that are going to get into this, and we don't want them growing up to be nasty and rude like some of these other fans are. So it puts a even more sour taste in my mouth to see fans act like that, to where, like you said, the guy didn't want to leave his house.
Well, I mean, the only solution I can really think of is to start sending him some RBLR merch. Joey Gallo, we're here to support you. If you want to buy a shirt for 10% off, you can go to shop.rblrsports. Maybe we'll get a Joey Gallo sympathy support shirt. I don't know.
Our fans don't suck, just real big on the shirt.
Yeah, our fans are nice to the players and don't yell at them when they're leaving their homes or anything like that. Just something really long-winded, but yeah, go buy a shirt. We're hungry.
Hey, and if you guys go buy a shirt, we'll do you guys a little favor. We'll throw in a discount code for 10% off, and we'll make it. Let's make it Flappy again this week. FLAPPY. Enter that in when you buy the shirts, and we'll give you guys 10% off.
Yep, sounds good. And that code only works for Joey Gallo. So unless your name is Joey Gallo, you got to pay full price. Sorry.
You know what? Listen, fans, I'm a man of the people. We're gonna make it for everyone and Joey Gallo, unless you're a Yankees fan.
Yeah, Yankees fans have to pay double.
Exactly.
Kind of like what they do with the ticket prices at the Trop. Like when the Yankees are in town, it's like goes from like $20 to like 50 for a ticket. And it's like, oh, that makes sense.
And that's fair. That is fair. So that's all the trade deadline talk. Oh no, we got to get into the Rays. God, I almost forgot the
yeah.
most important. Jesus, crow. Good lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and have your thought first on the Rays, because I think you're a little more positive than I am with this.
So yeah, I guess I'll just kind of jump around here. I don't really have it chronologically, but I like the upgrade from Phillips to Siri. They're about the same defensively, but Siri's bat is definitely a bit better. They got a nice cheap rental with Peralta. They barely gave up anything for him, just a complex league catching prospect who wasn't really a prospect. He was just, a placeholder. Maybe he'll turn into something. Hard
That
to
was
say.
Ford Proctor, right?
No, that was Christian Cerda.
Where did Ford Proctor go? Why am I tripping?
No, he went to the Giants, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so they got Peralta's just there until like Harold gets back. Then Peralta can be like a fourth outfielder, DH kind of thing. They traded Ford Proctor, Jaden Murray. They got I forgot who they got. It was like Jeremy Walker or something for Ford Proctor, just a minor league depth guy. He's decent though. He's got an interesting arm slot. I really like Garrett Clevenger. I think that's how you say it.
Yep.
Really, really great left-handed reliever. He's in Durham now, just destroying everybody. So I'm sure we'll see him at some point this season. They did. I mean, this wasn't like a deadline move, but they got Angel Perdomo from off waivers from Milwaukee, and then they got Jimmy Yacobonis off waivers from Miami for free. So they really got a lot of good depth here, which is what they needed. Yeah, I really like their moves. I think they got much better at the margins, which is like a typical Rays thing where they just add more depth, get better without adding any like huge names. They cleared some Rule 5 space to make this stuff easier in the fall or the winter. And I love Siri. I think he's awesome. Peralta's a really great rental. I mean, he's going to be here for like another 2 months and then he's out. But yeah, I really like the moves that they got, and they're going to work well with the guys that are coming back from injury. Because when Peter Bendick said, in an interview with Neil Solondz, he said the biggest moves that the Rays are going to make this deadline are the guys coming back from injury. He stuck to that. So I like the plan. I like the direction here. They got better now to help bridge that gap for later, and they improved their future by adding some good young arms and clearing Rule 5 space.
Yeah. For me, the people they added now, I think that like when we get to the grading point, I'm not going to have a grade because I think it all depends on if we make the playoffs or not. Because of the guys that are on rental, like Peralta. If Peralta helps us make it to the playoffs, then I think that pays off. I know it was a cheap rental, but I think it all depends on how far we get. Siri, I need to see more of that bat because I think he's had 2 hits since coming over.
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, I think he's only had 2 hits since coming over. He had a really nice jump on a fly ball in his first game that you were actually at.
That was crazy to watch that live. Oh my god.
So, like, defensively, I can see it. I just need him to produce more offensively when the time is right. I know it's just a small sample size, so I'm not putting it on him yet, but he's batting a little bit better than Phillips at a one. I think he's at a 174 now or a 176, where Phillips is at like a 145. Like, so,
Right.
I feel like we didn't upgrade enough offensively. Is my biggest fear. I would have loved to get Josh Bell. That was hearing that I got excited for a minute, and then seeing him go to the Padres, who just have everything already, kind of hurt. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our moves I think we underpaid for a lot of guys, which is what I'm happy about.
Yeah, they definitely got guys for cheap, so they didn't really give up too much. They still did the moves that they wanted to make, which was nice. But I really have like, no complaints. But I know a lot of the reactions on, Twitter, social media, all that stuff. Mostly Twitter. I try to stay off Reddit these days. Aside from posting my stuff in the morning, I don't really lurk too hard anymore. But
I don't even
the
have
reactions
Reddit.
have been pretty mixed, I'd say.
Yeah, I felt like a big part of it was the DFAing of Brett Phillips. I think if we would have DFA'd anyone else, I don't think the fan base would have reacted the way that they did. Because let's be honest, he was probably the fan favorite here in Tampa.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like a what has he done for us lately kind of thing where he's still a good defender, but even those numbers are starting to fall off a little bit over the past month. So like who else would have been the guy who gets DFA'd or optioned or something?
Yeah, see, to me, I was like, well, we could have DFA'd Quinn. I mean, who hasn't played all that much? He's played more this week. I'll give him that, and he's played decent this week. But I think it was more of we talked about this on the Buck show because I was a guest on the Buck show earlier this week, and it was like he's always gonna have those moments. Like we're always gonna remember those moments, like his big moments that he had.
Yeah.
But you're right, like he hasn't done anything for us recently. So when you look at it just baseball oriented, you're like, okay, I see why he got DFA'd. But it's also one of those things like, God, he was my favorite player, so I understand where people are coming from. And then for them to take down all the pictures of him, like, come on, man.
Yeah, they did that really quick.
Yeah, we still got Longoria pictures up there. I know Longoria played longer and was much better, but I mean, those are big parts of Ray's history. Like, I don't see why you're taking those down.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually just looked at Quinn's numbers compared to Brett Phillips. In 214 plate appearances this year, Brett Phillips has a .2 FWAR. In 29 plate appearances with the Rays this season, Quinn has a .3 FWAR. He's been a lot better than Brett Phillips by quite a margin, surprisingly. I thought it would be a little bit closer, especially with Brett Phillips' defense, but Quinn's defense is actually really solid too.
But you said what, 29 plate appearances? That we said, or 29 appearances?
29 plate appearances for Quinn compared to 214 for. So if Quinn played as many games as Brett Phillips, assuming he keeps up this pace, he'd be at what, like a 2.0 FWAR, which is that's solid. I'll take that over Brett Phillips. I mean, like as a person, like he's great, but unfortunately, like personality doesn't win baseball games.
Oh yeah, and I agree 100%. I think that personality shouldn't necessarily be taken into account, but as a fan base, I think it does.
Yeah, no, it sucks. And like he's someone that I've, even when people wanted him DFA'd, people have been saying to DFA him all season, and then when the Rays actually
Yeah.
do it, they get upset.
Yeah, they're like, what the hell did you do that for? Like,
Yeah, it's like,
you
well,
guys have been
that's what you
asking for it all
wanted.
season.
I mean, I like him as a defensive outfielder. I think he's a great player, but with the emergence of Luke Raley, he makes Brett Phillips' left-handed bat a little bit expendable. You also acquire Peralta, who's a lefty. Siri and Quinn can play defense almost as well as Phillips at times. I know Quinn not as much, but Siri he's the Rays. The internal metrics say he's like the top in the game. So I'm fine. I think they replaced him, and I've moved on, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is, and looking at it from my point of view, I don't think the fans would have reacted as poorly. And I would say I was borderline with those fans about like Brett Phillips, but at the same time, if we would have gotten a big name to replace him, someone who's producing offensively as much as they are defensively, and I'm like, obviously it's to the extreme here, but say we got Juan Soto. This is extreme. It wasn't going to happen, but say we got Juan Soto and DFA Brett Phillips. No one is talking the way that they are right now.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess the scary part is we don't know with Siri. He's kind of a wild card offensively because his play in Houston has been so sporadic. Like, he hasn't had consistent playing time being there. So if he can produce on a regular basis and him having regular playing time makes him a better player, then I think that in a year we won't even talk about how we lost Brett Phillips. But if he doesn't, then it's going to be like, I told you guys should have kept Brett Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to wait and see, I guess. But I love what he's done at like every minor league level. Like, he's just destroyed the baseball. So that's really cool. Really great above average offensive numbers at pretty much every stop. So it's just a matter of time before that comes through at the big league level. And I think it's really like with him, it's not a matter of the talent. He just makes poor decisions at the plate.
Yeah.
He's got the bat speed. Like, the bat speed might be the best on the team, like, immediately. Like, he's extremely talented, like 5-tool player. He's basically like Julio Rodriguez if Julio Rodriguez was a late bloomer. Like, because Siri he's 27, so he's about to start heading into his prime. But I love the talent. I'm excited to see what the Rays get out of him.
So now this is a question for the future. Do you think that this signals the end of Kevin Kiermaier as a Ray?
I don't think so. There was that video that he posted. He's saying he's coming back. So, I mean, like, that could mean like he's coming back to play baseball for a team, but I don't think he'd post that video if he wasn't coming back to play for the Rays. So I think his mind is made up. He might have to. I don't think they're going to do the $12 million team option, because I don't think he's going to be. I wouldn't bet $12 million that he's 100% healthy coming out of hip surgery next year. So he might decline that and then sign a shorter, smaller deal. But yeah, I think he's coming back.
Okay. I know for your sake, I hope he does, but I'm on the get rid of KK train. I like KK. I just think that has he ever had a healthy season in the last 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, the past 2 years he's played in like 80% of the team's games. So this season was obviously, like, it sucks that he got hurt, but the 2 years prior to this and most of 2019 he was healthy. I know 2019 I think he started off on the IL and only played in like 70%, but he's played in most of the games the past 2 years. Like, it's a shame because he really was, staying consistently healthy. But, that stuff, the hip stuff, was probably always going to pop up no matter what.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that if Siri is going to get consistent playing time, which is kind of what the consensus said, like from hearing from the front office, it sounded like, all he needs is consistent playing time. He's not going to replace a Rosarena in the outfield. He's not going to replace Margot if he's healthy. So it's kind of like, where does he play?
Yeah, I think it'll be like a rotation kind of thing because we'll probably. I mean, he could also DH too. Like, I really like
Yeah.
his bat a lot. Randy can DH. But if we had like an outfield of like Siri, KK, Margot, like, and then Randy DHing, that's amazing. I could live with that. Um, but yeah, I think KK is sticking around. I don't think this means much for him.
Okay, that's fair. So then, what's your overall grade for the Rays then?
The thing that would have given them an A was if they got Juan Soto, just because he was
He
the
was so
Padres got
cheap,
him really cheap. Like I was surprised.
so
Like
cheap.
it would have been like Curtis Mead, Taj Bradley, Randy, and then like I don't know some pitcher that's at the major league level now, like Springs. I don't know.
Yarbrough.
I don't know if they'd take him,
No, they
honestly. I don't
wouldn't.
know how
They
much
wouldn't.
value he has. But yeah, it'd be something like that, and then I'd be cool. But yeah, I'd still give it a B right as of right now. Maybe like a B plus because they did clear the Rule 5 space they needed. They added pitching depth like they needed, and at uh they upgraded from Phillips, and they added a nice rental bat to hold them over until some of the other guys get healthy. So yeah, I'd say B plus because they did exactly what they needed to do.
Okay.
What
I'm not
about you?
opposed to that. Like I said earlier, I'm not giving them a grade yet.
Oh yeah,
it's
that's right.
it's got to be determined on if they make the play. If we got Josh Bell, if we would have gotten Josh Bell, obviously Juan Soto, yeah, that would have made it an A because he was super cheap. We could have afforded that, and still had room to spare as far as our farm system. But if we would have gotten Josh Bell, I would have been more positive about like their grading. But if we make the playoffs, I think it's a B plus, A minus for right now.
Yeah, I mean they're still like pretty comfortably in a playoff spot right now with Baltimore getting a little bit worse, Boston getting a little worse, Toronto treading water. So yeah, I think I think it's fine as of now, but yeah, we'll have to see if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think aside from just the trade acquisitions, a big part of making the playoffs is going to depend on our injured players, and like I don't know if that's too much of a gamble to have hope that they're all going to come back and be ready to go and be good, be as solid as they have been.
Well, do they have to come back and be 100% to make the team better?
I mean, that's to be determined, I guess, because you're right. I mean, 70% of someone who's not playing right now is better than 0%. So
Like, would you rather have Yu Chang on the roster or a Wander Franco who's playing cautiously
oh,
because of his
definitely Yu
hammy?
Chang.
But I mean, it's just you got to look at who they're replacing. So like a lot of people on Twitter are like, well, we can't count on injured players to come back and contribute. Like, would you rather have Yu Chang or Wander Franco on the roster? Like Taylor Walls
Yeah,
would just move to the backup role, and like, would you rather have Manuel Margot or Roman Quinn? Like these aren't very difficult questions to answer. So
yeah,
I think they get caught up in like the idea of injured players aren't going to come back 100%, which is fine even if they don't. Like Margot is a better player hurt than Quinn is at his peak, and same with
yeah,
Wander and Chang. And then with the pitchers, like you don't even need all the pitchers to come back. We've got Whistler, Firerise, and Anderson, Chagua, Fleming, Chirinos, McKay, Sledgers, Reed, Boz. If like two of those guys are like mostly healthy, this pitching staff gets better because they already have a very good pitching staff. They've been the best in the league like since like May 15th or something. They've had like the best numbers. Um, they've been the best over this past week as well. So I don't really buy into that argument that the injured players are a gamble because that's already been accounted for.
I like that. I like that answer, and the way you explained it, I think, is perfect because you're right. I would take 70% of Wander over 100% of Yu Chang.
Like, and I love Yu Chang. Like, he's a cool, guy or whatever. Plays baseball at an okay level, but he's not Wander Franco.
No, I don't think anyone is Wander Franco. So I think
No,
you're spot on.
I mean, and not all these guys are going to come back even from injury. Like Nick Anderson, his velocity is like 93, 94. That's not where it needs to be. Chagua's down a couple miles per hour. So, we don't really know what they're going to look like. Fireisen still is I think he's throwing batting practice now or bullpens or something, but he's still a bit a ways away. But the Rays did add pitching depth to account for that. They got
Yeah.
Yacobonis, Clevenger, Jeremy Walker, whoever that is. I'm sure he'll be great now that I just talked bad about him. Angel Perdomo fixed his walk rates overnight. Like, he's insane. Yeah, I'm not concerned about the injuries. The only thing I'm curious about is what the team is going to look like when most of the guys are healthy, because there aren't too many players outside of like Quinn and Chang, and you could not DFA, you could option Luke Raley, but there isn't that much room on the roster. So I'm curious to see what that's going to look like.
That's kind of my biggest concern, because I know Walls offensively isn't doing great, but man, can he play shortstop, bro? Good Lord. He's
he
so good defensively. So obviously I don't think he goes anywhere. And then, like you said, you got Chang, Quinn, maybe Rayleigh, but who else? Like, those are the only three that I can think of that we could send down or either DFA or send down. I don't think does Chang have any options left, or would he
No,
he'd have to be DFA'd?
Yeah, he'd be gone.
So it's like, those are the only three I could possibly think of that we could get rid of, and I would be like, okay, it happened.
Well, I mean, I guess that kind of clears enough space, though, because the three offensively that you're getting back are Wander, Harold, and Margot. Unless I'm missing
True.
someone. The pitching side is going to be crazy, though.
Yeah, because we have a good lineup now, and just to think of it getting better and losing some of those people and it getting better, it blows my mind.
Yeah. But I don't think anybody's going to say like the Rays didn't do enough at the deadline if they missed the playoffs. Like, it's really just, this is the team, like, they're going to either win or they're going to lose. And, they have a really good track record. So I think they're going to be winning a lot more than not over the next like month and a half or whatever we have left in the year.
That's fair. I like that conclusion.
All right. So, I mean, we kind of did injuries there. So I guess we could get into players of the week and then a little bit of series stuff. I know we've been on here for a while, so I don't want to take up everybody's time.
Yeah. Well, who do you got for your bat of the week?
Brandon Lau. That's
easy,
pretty
easy.
straightforward.
Yeah.
299 WRC plus this week. 0.6 FWAR. He did that in a week. Like, that's insane. And a 1400 OPS. Like, he's the best player on the team right now.
Yeah. Let's not forget 2 home runs.
Yeah, and he's really like hitting the ball hard all the time. So I feel like he could have been maybe a little bit more productive this week, but that's not a knock against him. That's just like the defense is taking away some hits. So yeah.
And I mean, all this coming from one of the worst hitters in baseball, if you look at Twitter.
Yeah, apparently he shouldn't even be on the roster, so he should be thankful that he has an opportunity to play right now.
Yeah, right. He's making the best of it.
All right, what about your arm of the week?
So I went with Corey Kluber.
Okay.
He pitched 12 innings. Both of his starts went 6 innings. Struck out, I believe, 15 or 16 guys. In his first game, he did allow 4 runs, which was kind of but both of them were wins under his belt. So I think that he gets my player of the week.
How many? Wait, you said he pitched 12 innings?
Yeah, he pitched Saturday after our show,
and
then he pitched last night, if I'm not mistaken.
How many runs did he give up in those 2 starts? I don't remember.
I believe it was
combined.
I believe it was maybe 5. I don't know if they scored. Yeah, it was 5 because they scored 1 against him last night.
It was 1 earned run. Okay, that's not too bad. I thought it was like 6 or 7, but I guess I don't know who else I could have. Well, maybe it was McClanahan because he gave up quite a few runs this week. I mean, he wasn't
I'm a liar. I'm a liar. It was 7. He gave up 3 runs last night. I thought he only gave up 1.
Okay, yeah. No, I just looked it up too now. Yeah, 7 runs, gave up 2 home runs, struck out 15 over 12. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't terrible. Like, he definitely wasn't great either, but it's mostly bad luck with him. Like,
yeah,
he didn't walk anybody, I don't think. Like, he's throwing quality strikes. They're just hitting, weak fly balls off the end of the bat that drop in for hits. The home runs are were pretty well hit over the past two
Yeah,
starts.
the 2 home runs were hit very well, like
But I
very
think
well.
Riley Green's going to do that to anybody. He's probably the best hitter in Detroit right now, which is weird to say.
Yeah.
For my pitcher of the week, though, I had Jeffrey Springs. He had 6 innings this week. He had a 1.11 FIP. He led the pitchers with a 0.3 FWAR. Good stuff from him. And what I really liked about his start, it was against the Tigers, which isn't like a great measurement, but they are in a slightly above average team against lefties. So they're the worst in the league by far against righties. So like they have like a 67 WRC plus against right-handed pitching this year, but they've got like a 106 or 107 against lefties. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised that Springs did so well, but it wasn't as easy of a start as people were making it out to be. Like he had to pitch well to get that kind of production, and he did well. So that's why he was mine. But I mean, I'm cool with Kluber too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm cool with either one. I think they both had really good weeks. I think the only one who had a down week was McClanahan, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, it was really just like 2 innings where his command slipped. The rest of it looked fine. I don't know. He'll be fine though. I'm not worried about it. Everybody gets one.
Yeah, exactly. No, he just has to come back out and prove himself, which I think he's going to do.
The only one who doesn't, get one bad start is Garrett Cole because he's bad like every other start. So he's got to throw in some Yankee slander there.
Oh, he makes so much money to be bad.
Like Corey Kluber has had a better season than Garrett Cole.
Oh,
which is
100%.
weird to say. But yeah, I guess with an offense like that, Garrett Cole doesn't need to be good. But we can get into like some big takeaways from the Toronto series and the Detroit series so far, and then I guess we can wrap this up.
Yeah, I mean, so we split the series with Toronto, a weird 2-game series. And coming off of last week, I mean, I would take a split at this point. So
yeah, it was weird for sure, like having 2 games like that. I know the Cleveland series was a bit unlucky, especially that last game. Like they were hitting everything and just nothing was dropping in for a hit really. But yeah, splitting with Toronto was fine.
Yeah, I'll take a split with any of our division teams right now. Toronto, they're above us. So at this point, a split is the best we could, or the worst we could ask for at this point. Like we need to split these games with them.
Yeah, I don't know how they're above us because they're really like not that great. Like I guess they get more timely hits, but that's not really like a skill that you can teach. It's just how baseball goes. So I'm sure they'll get some bad luck eventually. They do have a pretty nice home field advantage where they get to play like a weakened version of most teams that come into Toronto. But I really like the pitching and defense against Toronto. It was phenomenal. The offense was a bit unlucky, but they're starting to get some positive regression with their batting average on balls in play. So
yeah,
it's been nice for them to turn that around, especially in this Detroit series so far.
Yeah, I think in the Blue Jays series, we would have done much better if they didn't have Vladdy or Teoscar Hernandez because it felt like they hit whenever they wanted to against us.
Yeah, Hernandez, he just does that to the Rays, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean the Rays could be walking him, which is what I would do most of the time. Like,
at this point,
just walk him. Like just give him a single instead of a home run. Like it's kind of like with Aaron Judge. Like Aaron Judge is going to hit a home run at some point in the game. So just walk him. Like why does anybody pitch to him? I don't understand that. Like it's really not that hard.
He's having such a good season, man. I know we're a Rays podcast and I hate the Yankees, but Aaron Judge is having such a good season.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the strategy to him like isn't changing. The Rays have been pretty good against him, but like just don't pitch to him. Just let him swing at balls. I don't understand that. But that's what people should be doing to Brandon Lau right now because he is so hot right now.
Seriously. I mean, and just coming back from injury, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Like, for him to be that hot coming off of an injury, it's just going to get scarier.
Actually, they're really not pitching to Brandon Lau. Like, yesterday, the Tigers pitchers didn't pitch to anybody. The Rays drew 13 walks.
That's a franchise record.
They took that strategy of not pitching to their best hitter, Brandon Lau, and just like, yeah, let's do that to everybody. Like,
we're not going to pitch to anyone.
Mejia walked twice. I think Quinn walked twice. Like, what is that?
I want to say it was the second inning. Garcia walked. He had 2 outs, and then he walked 3 straight. We didn't get anything off of it, but he walked 3 straight, and Brandon Lau was up, and Brandon Lau got to a 3-2 count. Like, he almost walked in the first run of the game in the second inning with 4 straight walks.
That would have been awesome.
It just it blows my mind. And like, I mean, I give some of that credit to Tampa. Like, for us to break a franchise record in 13 walks in a game that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the keys to their offense is when they're seeing a lot of pitches and taking their walks, they're pretty good. They had a 110 WRC plus as a team this week, so they're 10% above league average. But the thing that stands out is their 13.3% walk rate this week. So when the Rays are just, letting the game come to them a little bit and then letting guys like Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena kind of be like the ones who go out and attack the game, it's a pretty good strategy. So I hope they continue to walk a lot. They also led the league in FIP this week, which is awesome. They were the best pitching team. So really good stuff. They're definitely turning it on.
Yeah, I think that we're turning it on at the perfect time. Like, this is when we need to be hot, and I think that we're getting there. And this week is hopefully a starting point to where they're like, all right, this is how we got to play the rest of the season.
Even their defense has been getting better. Like this week, the Rays moved into the top 10 in the league in ultimate zone rating and into the top 15 in defensive runs saved. Outs above average is still like around league average for them this year. So that's probably like my favorite defensive metric, but a lot of the other numbers are starting to show that they're getting better. So base running is also improving, but I think I talked about that last week. So if they can just be, a little bit above average defensively, best pitching team in the league, above average offense, good base running, like they're making the playoffs. They're a good team.
Oh, agreed 100%. And I know that we just had kind of a short little wrap up of the series because we went so in depth on the trade talk. But is there anything else you want to cover on the Rays week or looking forward or anything like that?
I said it last week, but it's still like, a work in progress. But Xavier Isaac, he could see time in the complex league over the next 2 weeks. So I'm really excited. He's the Rays' first round pick from the draft this year. He's already signed to his contract, so he's ready to go. It's just a matter of time of like, getting him worked out and like integrated to that team. So I'm excited to see him though. We might see him within like 2 weeks. So
that's fast. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. But I guess that's about it. So unless you had anything else, we could wrap this up.
The only thing I have is to you guys listening, you made it this far. We appreciate you guys so much. I know we did our shameless shirt plug earlier. This time it's a plug, but I promise it doesn't cost you anything. Wherever you're listening to this, whether it's Apple Music, Spotify, any streaming service, if you guys could just give us a follow, give us a like, whatever you guys have to do. It helps us out and it lets us know that you guys are listening and loving it. Also on any social media, we are at RBLR Sports. If you could just go give us a follow, interact with us, comment, tag us, whatever you have to do. Let us know what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear. If we're doing something wrong, let us know. We might ignore it. We might not. We'll see.
I'm going to ignore it.
Ben will ignore it. I'll take it into consideration. I promise. But aside from that, if you guys can just go do that for us, we really appreciate it. And I'll let Ben have the last word. Go Rays.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Go Rays.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.